What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today I am going to show you on how to create a boss fight AI with behavior trees. It's going to be a very easy build to follow, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is of course have our AI mesh, right? And in this case, I'm gonna be using this ancient golem. And of course, if you want, you can use, just the mannequin for testing and prototyping. But in my case, I have this really cool ancient golem, right? Which if I make bigger, will look like a really cool boss fight. And it's actually free for this month of April. So if you want to grab it, you still have time, maybe. Alright, so let's begin by creating all the assets that we will need for the AI. And that means the behavior tree, the Blackboard data asset, and then the AI controller. So let's right click on the content browser and create a new folder and just name this boss fight. And now inside of this folder, we're gonna right click again and go into the artificial intelligence section. And we're gonna be using these two assets, which is of course the behavior tree itself and the Blackboard asset. So let's begin by creating the Blackboard. And what is the Blackboard? Well, basically the Blackboard asset will allow us to create different keys and use them between all of our tasks in the behavior tree. And it's basically like creating variables for the behavior tree, okay? So let's name this something as bd underscore and then just boss. With that said, now we can right click and create the other asset, which is the behavior tree itself. And let's name this something as bt underscore boss. Cool, so now if I open up BD boss, it's empty, good, so you save it and close it. And now let's open up the behavior tree, and we're gonna make sure that in details panel, we have the Blackboard asset selected on the one that we created, which should automatically be filled in, but just in case, go ahead and select it. There we go. Cool, so now we can save and close and we're good to go. So now we have those two assets created, but we need one more, which is the AI controller. So let's right click, go and create a new blueprint class, and let's search for AI controller, which is this one over here. So let's select this, bp underscore AI underscore and then boss. Open this up, and now we're gonna go into the event graph, and we just need to do one little thing, okay? So this AI controller will be applied into whatever actor we have our boss fight on. So we're gonna be running here the behavior tree. So in the begin play, when the game starts, we're gonna say run behavior tree. As simple as that. And of course now we just need to go and select the behavior tree that we want. Cool, so now we can save, close, and just compile. And now that we have those three assets, we just need one last one, right? Which is of course the actor itself that we will place in the level, which will have the mesh and all that stuff. So let's right click, go and create a new blueprint class, and in this case it's gonna be a character because it will have, well, the movement and the ability to walk around, which is needed, right, for this AI. So let's click on character and name this just simply bp underscore boss. Let me just rename this. There we go, boss. Alright, so now let's open up this. As you can see, it already has a capsule component and a movement component added, which is really cool. So let's select the mesh, and let me go ahead and apply this ancient golem. Let me put this at -89 and -90, so it will be correctly placed. And good, so let me compile, save, and now I'm gonna go into the class defaults, search for AI, and now what we can do is basically add the AI controller class that we just created. So it's gonna be AI boss. There we go, cool, and that's it. So now the AI will have the ability to run that behavior tree that we basically created a few moments ago. And yes, we are not adding the logic of running the behavior tree on the actor. It's done on the AI controller because it's basically more appropriate. Cool, so now we're gonna drag in the boss into this level. As you can see, we have it here. Now this doesn't look like a cool boss, right? He looks like a little baby. So let me just double check on the ancient golem little demo map that they have created, because I think that they have like a bigger scale. So yeah, they basically have a 5 of scale for both the inner kind of thing and also the mesh itself. So let me go back to my third person map, go and open up BP boss, and you select the mesh and just lock this scale and put this to 5. And of course this only really applies if you're using the same mesh as me, but in that case not. So let me go and also add another child, which is another skeleton mesh, and this will be the how do we say, the kind of the wheel spinning. We have this one, right, which again it will be basically at 5 of scale, I believe. or even a bit less. I'm not sure actually. Let me quickly go and check again. I don't know why, but the scalings on this is a bit weird. So let me enter. So it's actually not a child, or is it? No, yes, it is a child. Okay, so for example, let's take a look at this one. So we have it at 5, and then the other one's only at 1. Okay, that makes sense. And does it? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna just reset this, and then we also need to duplicate this wheel, which we're gonna rename, and this will be the other thing, which is the head thing. So let me rename this to head. And that's it. So of course you can kind of skip this part if you are not using one of these assets. And okay, we have this here, but it's not connected to the body because we are using an animation asset, which probably will place it where it needs, assuming. So that's okay, that's good. All right, well, okay, that's good. Well, we have it as a child with one over there. So that's good. We're gonna apply an animation asset, which will basically consist of the idle animation. Just so we have something, and the same for both of them. So for the head, this will basically be an animation asset, which will be the moving thing. And then on here, we'll have another animation asset, which will be the moving thing. And they're moving. Now, they're not placed still correctly. And this is basically because they do have a specific rotation. All right, so they have a rotation, so I need to basically actually move it up so it's in place. So let me quickly just go and kind of bind this over here, right? And, you know, put it there for now. And then this also, I'm gonna just, you know, put it over here for now, right? I'm gonna make it quick. It isn't gonna be perfect, but for now it works. Okay, so let's go back to the third person map, and we're good to go. So I can press play, and we have this, you know, huge monster over here. Yes, that's not correctly placed, but don't worry, we'll fix that later. All right, so now we basically need to make this AI move around, because right now he's a bit, you know, too still. So of course, we're gonna implement all of that in the behavior tree. So let's go to the boss fight folder and open up the BT boss. And down here we have the whole behavior tree logic. Now I have 2 starter and beginner guides on the behavior tree. So if you want to check them out, go ahead. I will try to leave them in the description. But basically, behavior trees run from top to bottom. Okay, so basically downwards, and then from left to right. So anything that is to the left will have a higher priority. So with that said, we're gonna begin by creating a little sequence over here. And I'm gonna name this the patrolling system, sequence. So we're gonna basically make our AI boss just patrol over a little area while basically our player is not yet in the arena, we could say, right? So with this sequence, we can basically put different tasks and it will run it again from left to right. So let's begin by creating the first task. So we can do this by going up into new task. I'm gonna go into the boss fight folder, right click new folder, name it tasks, very important, so it's organized. And let's name this bt underscore task underscore boss, and then something as just patrol. All right, so let's open this up, and we have opened this new asset, which is the task. So the first thing that we need to do is go to functions, override, and put in a receive execute AI. And this is basically the begin play of the task. So as soon as it begins to execute this task from here, we will run it from here. So we basically now need to do an AI move to, right? As we want to move the AI into a different place. And on here, we're gonna plug in the controlled pawn to pawn. And then on destination, we can get a random point in reachable radius, and that's how we can basically randomly walk into a point, in this case the AI. Now the origin will be the controlled pawn get actor location, right, as it will basically pick a point from where it is right now, and radius is how far away we want to randomly get a point, so maybe like 2000, right, something not too crazy. And then settings radius, we can leave this as 5. This is basically how close we get to the destination point. And then on success, we will add a finish execute, and we will take this to true, of course, and we will basically say to the task that, well, we finished, so we're gonna move on into the next one in the sequence. And because we're gonna paste this into fail and disable success. Cool, so now with that said, it will basically pick a random point and move to that point, and at the end it will basically finish the task. So let's go to the behavior tree, drag in from the patrol sequence, and add in our BT task patrol, and then we're gonna drag in another one and add that wait. So this will basically just wait maybe like 2 seconds, and it will go back to the beginning. So now if we press play, nothing happens. Why? Well, because there's one last thing needed for our AI to move around, and that is basically a nav mesh agent. So if I drag in a volume nav mesh bounce volume to the level, and with a luck increase it to 50, now when I press P on the viewport, we can see that Unreal Engine has basically created paths for all the possible routes that our AI can do. And this is very important because if not, our AI will not be able to move. But now when I press play, boom, the AI is actually moving around, which is pretty cool, and everything is basically going ahead and working. Now let me go quickly and just get the mesh and basically drop it, because my goodness, this AI is basically flying around. And I'm gonna try to maybe put this in a better position. I mean, we should technically attach it to a socket, but it seems that there's no specific socket for this kind of mesh. So I'm gonna kind of just try to place it a bit better for now, right? Like this, and that's it. And then also gonna get the wheel and just push it a bit better here, right? Yeah, that'll work for now. Anyway, so now our AI is going ahead and picking random point, going to it, waiting 2 seconds or whatever we said, and turning. But you can notice something. And first of all, the speed is very high, and then second of all, he's turning very aggressively. I mean, it's like boom. There's no interpolation and smoothing out of the rotation. So let's go to the VP boss actor. We're gonna go and select the character movement component, and first of all, let's drop down the max walk speed to something as 350, right? So it will go a bit slower, and we're gonna go down until we see this character rotation settings, and let's enable orient rotation to movement, and this will basically, with this rotation rate, smoothly turn the character to where he is basically moving to. And now we need to also disable one thing which automatically forces the rotation in Unreal Actors, which is the yaw. Alright, so I'm gonna disable the use controller rotation yaw, which was like hard coding the rotation to be to where it's moving, but with the character movement one is way smoother. So now he moves in way slower, as you can see, and he turns smoother, as you can see. Right, let's take a look here. Boom, now he actually turns smoothly, not like teleports. So cool, we are actually advancing in many things. Let me also just make it facing the character so it makes a bit more sense. And actually I'm pretty happy on how this is going. So now what we basically need to do is going ahead and simply adding other tasks and states for our AI. And the first one that we're gonna be adding on our behavior tree is going to be the attacking sequence. So let's move this to the left. As you may know, this will have a higher priority, so it will begin with the patrol sequence. But then we want to create another sequence. I'm gonna rename this to be basically the combat sequence, we could say, and we basically want to do this one. Now you have noticed that it has switched from patrol sequence to combat sequence, and that's why we need another intermediate node, which is going to be the selector, and this will basically select what sequence it wants to go ahead and execute, and this will be based on some rules that are called decorators, and we can use Blackboard keys a bit later on. But before, let's go ahead and just set up this over here. So now we want to create another sequence. Well, sorry, sequence not, we already created that, but I mean the task. To basically go and move to the point where we want to attack. Alright, basically chase the player. So let's create a new task, and when I select a blueprint base, I want to create a brand new task. Go again into the folder and create a BT underscore task underscore boss chase target. Let's open this up, go to functions and add a receive execute AI, which is the beginning play. So once again, we want to add a move to, and just plug in the controlled pawn to the pawn that we want to move to. Sorry, move. And the one that we want to move to is going to be basically the get player character. And it will basically get the first player character in the level and go towards it. We're going to add some acceptance radius of around 250. And that's because we want to stop a bit, you know, to not get so close. And then we also want to add a finish execute over here to true, and one on fail over here. And good. With that said, now we want to go back to the behavior tree and add this chase target on the combat. But of course, once we have finished this, we want to create another one, which is gonna be, of course, the attack. So if I go to new task, I'm gonna create another one from blueprint base, create a bt underscore task underscore boss attack. And I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. So once again, we add with the receive execute AI, and in this case, we basically want to attack. So for now, we're gonna implement a simple print string, and later on we'll implement the attack. But let's go ahead and just put attack, and good to go. Now, of course, we cannot test this chasing sequence because, as I mentioned before, this has a higher priority, so it will be in a loop playing this because there's no condition to go back into this one. So just for testing, let me put this one to the right, and now we can see that the AI boss will go towards the player, which actually looks really cool. And then when he gets here, we should in theory do the print, but you know, right now it's not printing, but don't worry about that. We'll look at it a bit later. And actually, I know why it's not printing, because we didn't add the attack, one. So now if I go here, actually, there we go, we print attack, which is pretty cool. All right, so now with that said, we are going to go and put the patrol sequence back here, and we want to basically add a condition, whether, you know, we are seeing the player, and if so, we go here, and if not, we're gonna go to patrol. But in order to add that condition, we want our boss AI to be able to sense with sight the player. So how are we going to do this? Well, we need to add a special component, and there's a few of them, but one which is simple and straight to the point that I like, which is just palm sensing, okay? And this palm sensing component will basically add some sight radius and hearing threshold for our AI. So let's drop the sight radius to around maybe 3000, and then let's basically change the visual angle to maybe like 85, right? And basically we can see a bit of the gizmo here, how our AI can see us. Now let's go and disable only sense players and keep everything like this. And now what I want to do is go and back to the BT boss and create some keys. But before, we need to basically detect, all right, when we see a pawn, and go and tell the blackboard asset that we are seeing the player. But actually, it's better if we do this in the AI controller, because therefore we have direct access to the blackboard data assets, and from here, from the actor itself, we don't. So I'm gonna actually select this and Ctrl X to cut it, and I'm gonna go into the BP AI boss, which is the AI controller which runs the behavior tree, and I'm gonna go into viewport and just paste this with Ctrl V with the parameters that we set. And now I can go and click on C pawn, and on here what I want to do is as simple as just saying get blackboard, and then go in and then set value as. Now I'm gonna, before adding this node, create the key. So let's go and open up the blackboard, and we can create a new key. Now this is like if we were creating a variable for our behavior tree. In this case, we want to create a new variable, right, which is really a key that's going to be a boolean, right? So we are seeing the player or we are not. So let's say seeing target, right? I'm gonna basically leave this by default, save and close. So now in this BPAI boss, what you would do is basically say like set seeing target, and then we will set true. But there's a problem, and it's that blackboards do not have individual, let's say instances, right, for all the keys. We have this universal node, which is the set value as and then the type. So in this case, we will select our bool type, and now we would just plug this in and just set the name of this one. So we can use this node to apply a text, and this will basically be seeing target. Now we need to basically spell this exactly the same, if not it will have an error, so I recommend to copy and paste it, but I'm just gonna do it quickly like this. Now as you can see, we're using a universal node with an ID instead of getting an instance of that key, but it's okay. Let's put this to true, compile and save, and it is just how it is, but there we go. Cool. So now we can go into and close these two things, the behavior tree, and what we can do is add these two little conditions, right? So for patrol sequence, I will right click and add a decorator and blackboard decorator. This is basically like checking for a condition in our blackboard, and in this case we can go and select what blackboard key we want to check for, which is going to be seeing target, right? So if this is not set, so it is basically false, we will be on this one. But if this is other, for example, if it's set and it's not set, we want to basically abort the sequence, and it's gonna be self. Go back to selector, go down, and we want to do the same here. So add a blackboard decorator, and I set it to seeing target, and down here if it's set. Now if this value changes, we want to go up here, so I'm gonna say self abort. And good, so now when I press play, you can see that by default he should not see me, right? I mean, it's gonna be hard, but if I manage the AI to, there we go. Well, let me just right click and play from here, right? So he right now should not be seeing me. Okay, he saw me. That's probably because we have a huge where is it, huge perception pawn sensing, right? So let me drop this to maybe a radius of just 2000 and the angle to maybe something as 50, right? So it's gonna be very, very concentrated. So now when I go and press play from here, he should not see me, or from here. There we go, he does not see me. So he's basically patrolling around. If we actually go into eject and then go into a fate, we are seeing here. But now he saw me and he's coming for me. And there we go. So everything is going ahead and working. If he doesn't see me, he will just patrol. But if he is seeing me, he will come to me. Good. So now we basically need to set the attack state, right? So let's go into the attack task, right? And right now we just have a print. But what we need to do is play an animation. Now we're gonna handle all the attacking through the AI boss actor. Now, a thing that we could do is basically go in here and cast to the VP boss and then call the attack event or function that we will create. But there's a way better way, which is using an interface. So we don't need to directly cast and, you know, allocate some memory to that. So we go into the boss fight folder, right click and create a new blueprint class. Go to the blueprint section and create a new interface. We can name this something as BPI underscore boss fight. And now when I open this up, I can automatically create a new function, and this will be attack. So there will not be any parameters or outputs. I'm gonna simply close it, and I'm gonna go into the BP boss actor, go to class settings and add this BPI interface. So now basically in here I can implement this attack interface, right? So here we will basically pass the print string to here, right? And this will be attacking, right? And I can then go to the task, delete this, and what I can do now is directly call attack. There we go, boss fight attack, and that's it. So I don't need to directly go and specifically cast that one. I can universally call attack, and if this control pawn has the interface, we will attack. So if I come here, you can see that we still get the print of attacking because, well, we're doing this here instead. Cool. But of course now we need to go and delete this and do a play montage, right? So let me go and select this play montage node, dragging my main mesh into the skeleton mesh component, and we need to create an animation montage. Now in this case, I don't have a attack animation, but I have this jumping one in the Asian golem, which I think that it will work. Where is it? Animation? Sorry, it's in demo, I think. Yeah. So we have this one, which is the jump start, and if I reverse it, I should be able to kind of attack, or even I don't need to even reverse it. I think. I would try to reverse it, but I don't think that we can play reversed animation montages actually, but let's try. So let's right click on this and create an animation montage. So an animation montage will basically allow us to go and play an animation from code, right, using the play montage effect. And as you can see, we have the raise code to 1. Let me put it to -1 and see if it actually will work. I believe that it doesn't work if you put negative values on montages, but let's do that testing. It's been time. And now on here we're gonna select that asset. Now if I go and press play, this will not play the animation. Why? Well, that's because we need an animation blueprint for this. So let's go back to the boss fight and create a new animation blueprint, right, for this ancient golem skeleton. let's call this ABP underscore boss and open this up. So in here I'm gonna go ahead and just drag in the idle animation for now. And then we need one node, which is the default slot for our animation montages. And why? Well, that's because our animation montages by default are allocated to the default slot. So they will need a default slot in the animation blueprint to play. And now with that said, I can go into the mesh and assign a blueprint, which is gonna be the animation blueprint, which is ABP boss. And now, yes, when I go and press play, as you can see, he will play the... Okay, he doesn't play it. Why? I believe it's because I have this set to -1. So if I go back and put it to 1, and he sees me, and oh my goodness, please see me. There we go, come here. There we go, he now attacks. Now that was a very rough attack, but you get the idea. It is actually working. Now if I get my BP boss 1 here, right, and check my data, right, my behavior tree. While I go, he can see me, goes and attacks, but he only attacks 1 time. So one thing that we can basically change over here is do this simple parallel, and what this will do is basically attack while he's also moving. So if I go and basically make him see me, come on, there you go, he'll be attacking well all the time. So he does this really strange thing. So we're gonna basically do a little check over here, which is gonna be a boolean is attacking, right? So if we are not attacking, so it is not boolean, we can go and attack. But if we are attacking, we will not. So on here, automatically when we start to play, we will set as attacking to 1, and on the onComplete, we will set it to false. And that's it. Now when I press play, he will come to me and start to attack. And I can go, he will attack, and I can go and start. There's a very rough attack, as you can see, but like, hey, it's an attack, right? I mean, simple animation for attacking. Cool, so all that is working. Let me clean up a bit by closing some stuff. And this is actually going ahead and working, which is pretty cool. Let me also just go quickly as an extra thing, and let me just set the camera boom distance to be like 600, just so I can see a bit better from outside, right? Because that boss fight is pretty big. And then I'm also gonna enable some camera lag for actually rotation too. So there's some smoothing out, as you can see, and it feels a bit better. Alright, so that's good. Now what I need to do is basically a simple thing, which is displaying the health bar on top of it, and also basically sending some attacks for the player. So let me delete everything, well, not delete everything, sorry, close everything. Let's go to the boss actor, and on here I'm gonna delete everything except attack, and let me press C and do attack. And then we're gonna go ahead and create a new variable, which will be the health. So this will be a float, as it will be a value with integers, and let's set it by default to be 100. So now what I can do is basically create a new widget and display this. So let's go to boss fight, right click, go into user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and let's call this WB underscore boss health, boss fight health. So now what I can do is drag in a canvas panel so we can start to place things, and the only thing that I am going to press is this progress bar. Let me place the anchor at the top, set the position X and Y to be 0, 0, put the alignment to 0.5 and 0.5 so it will be centered, and then expand size Y, decrease size Y, and expand size X, and then drop the Y by increasing this to around here. Let me put this to 100. 1000. And then when I change the percent to be like 0.7, just to see, okay, the initial value will be the other one, and then the fill color and opacity will basically be red. Of course, it's gonna be health. Cool. So now we have this. So the only thing left to do is to update this. So I'm gonna go into the boss, and I'm gonna basically go into the begin play, and I'm actually gonna do it on the boss. So I'm gonna create this widget from here, and this will be the WB boss fight, and then let me go and add this to the viewport, right, as now the player will see it. So when I press play, we can see the health bar, And there's one more thing, which is to right click, promote to variable, and save this health UI, right? So now with this health UI in, as a variable, I can simply go and update this. So I'm gonna go and add an event tick, which basically runs and ticks on every frame. And I'm gonna get the health bar UI. Then I'm gonna go into the progress bar, rename the progress bar to be health bar. Make sure that it is set and is variable. So now we can access it from here and say get health bar, and then simply set the percent of this. So now with this function, we can set the percent, and what it will be, well, basically the current health divided by the max health, which of course is 100. And why are we doing this division? Well, let me just show you guys that this percentage goes from 0 to 1. So that's why we need to divide it by the max health, so it will be a value between 0 and 1. So now if I set the health to be, for example, 70 initially, right? When I press play, it is at 0.7 and the health bar is okay. So that's going ahead and working. Cool. So now let's make that we can deal damage to this guy. So we're gonna add an event any damage, which will be triggered when we receive damage. Well, in this case, the AI receives damage. So we will basically get the current health and decrease it by the incoming health, which can be here. Then I want to set the new health parameter to be this, right? So we're updating the health at this point. And then we're gonna make a simple branch over here, and we will check if the current health is basically lower or equal than 0. If so, that means that we want to, die. So we will basically just get the character movement component and basically stop the movement. But a better way is to actually disable it completely, right? Now stop it, and that's it. And then I want to get the mesh and ragdoll it. So set simulate physics, right? So drag and ragdoll to the floor. Now that's one thing that we need for ragdolls, which is on the mesh, go down, and in collision we need to set to custom and set the collision enabled to enabled query and physics, so all the bones can collide with each other. And I believe that this should have physics as a creator. Good. So how can I apply damage to this? Well, let me quickly create a little code and system in the player, where if I press the left mouse button, right, we will launch a little line trace to it. So I can basically do a actually sphere trace. It will be a bit better. So I can create a sphere trace for objects. It will create like an invisible raycast from point A to B. So let me get the full camera and basically get the world location. That's because I want to begin this raycast whenever my camera is, and then I want to get the rotation, right, the world rotation in this camera, and basically get the forward vector, so I can basically get the direction and launch a ray forwards. And the only thing I need is to times this by a value, and just right click, convert this to a float. So it will basically set the distance, right, how far away this ray will go. Let's put something as 3000. And then I just want to add this two vectors together to add the direction and put it to the endpoint. And then the radius will be something as 25. And then actor object types will basically make an array and say that we can impact pawns, as our boss is a pawn, right? Because it's a character. Let's set the draw debug type for duration, and let's set duration to around maybe 2 seconds, and that's it. So now when I go, I can launch this raycast. Now it's impacting the robot, but it's not applying damage. That's because I need to do a little thing, which is of course getting the return value and just continuing if we have hit something. And then we have this out hit, which if we break, we have all the parameters about the object that we have collided. So we can just get the hit actor and just apply damage. And this is an event inside of Unreal, which will basically link to that any damage that we created here. So we can just add a base damage of maybe 10. And now if I go, compile, save, press play, and attack, the health is decreasing, and we delete and kill this guy, which is pretty cool. So everything is going ahead and working. Now let's quickly create the attacking for the AI. So what I'm gonna do is just go to the boss fight, ancient golem demo, and then find the montage. So in here I'm gonna find the specific point where I want to attack, which is like here, I don't know, around here. Go to the notifies track, right click, and add a notify montage notify. So now on the BP boss, I can get the on notify begin and basically do a sphere trace like we just did. So let me go and copy this 4 nodes paste it here, link it to unnotified begin. There we go. Just put it over here. All right, let me just do this. I'm gonna actually put it here and then here. There we go. And now the start point will basically consist of, let me just copy this, this, and this. Okay, so sorry, this except the full camera. Paste it here. This will be the end point, and this will be start point. Okay, so we will do exactly the same thing. Now we need to get the actor. We can just plug in the mesh for this too, actually. That's a bit easier. And there's one missing, which is, of course, I forgot about the make array. We need to identify what objects we want to hit, which will be this one. Okay, cool. Let me expand this to maybe like 35. And now when I press play, he will go and start to do this. Now we cannot see the attacks because I believe that the notify is not triggering. I mean, it should be triggering here. So that should be triggering. Let me quickly do a print over here. Right, so print string, go and press play. Yeah, it's printing hello, as you can see. But we cannot see the raycast. Why? Well, let me double check. So let me plug this back here. And we do it in for duration. And that's because probably this mesh is not enough. And also we need to do a bit downward. So I'm gonna go and create a new component, which will be an arrow. And this will be the attack pause, right? So I can place this arrow whenever I want to deal damage. So it'll be kind of here, right? I'm gonna get and replace this mesh with the arrow. And now we should be launching that array from the arrow. So let me, there we go. So that's working and the height is perfect. As you can see, it's impacting the player when we attack, which is really cool. So now I'm gonna basically copy the exact same logic of health for our player, right? So let me go here, press C, call it health, and then let me expand this comment so it will fill also the line trace and so on, and then drop this health over here. So I'm gonna copy the whole health component, right, or logic. Close this, paste this here. And I'm gonna also comment this one, which will be attack. Oh, attack. There we go. Put it here, and there we go. So now right click, create variable, set the initial health to 100, and then that's it. So now I also need to set the mesh to the collision settings of custom and query in physics, so we will basically get damaged. So let me go and try to make our AI come for me. And now if we basically get hit 10 times, our player will die. As you can see, we disable the movement and everything is going ahead and work. Now of course you would need to manually add sound effects and other of that stuff, but you get the idea. I'm not gonna be doing that fossil, alright? But in this case, we are basically getting everything. So we just need to add, you know, some music, some sound effects, some hit effects, and you have this AI tuned in. Maybe some camera shake too. Actually, let's do a quick camera shake. So let's right click inside of the boss fight and create this camera shake. All right, which is gonna be this legacy camera shake. And let's select this BP underscore attack camera shake. Open this up and let's set some variables. So the duration will be something as 0.15. The blend time we can leave like this. Then the rotation oscillation will be something as actually location, like an amplitude of 10 and frequency of 2. And then the same for this one, 10, 2. And for Z, 10 and 2. And then from 0 for the initial offset of Z. And then with that said, I can go to the boss and on the notify begin, right? I'm gonna do a sequence. So we'll basically do the line trace, but also in here do a play world camera shake. And when I select this BP camera shake that we created, the epicenter will be the current actor location, and then the outer radius will be something as 3,500, right? And that should work. Maybe it's not too much, but yeah, so it's not too much. So I'm gonna increase it to maybe like 70, 70, 70, And now, there we go. That works. And then let me add also for rotation, and we'll do a very similar thing. So maybe like 22, 22, and then 22, right? And that's how we can add. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's maybe too much. So maybe like 5. Yeah, 5 will be a better value, but you get the idea, right? I mean, now let me try to get the A to go. There we go. He attacks, and we got this, which is pretty cool. Now, and as an extra bonus, let's just implement the running walking animation, right? So what I just did was change the mesh on here to be on on the mesh not, but on the animation blueprint, change it to the walking animation. But let's delete this because we need a blend space, right? So we can transition from idle to walking. And also what I did was improve the wheel on the head location by just attaching it to the spine 3. Okay, that's what I did. Anyway, so let's go here, and in my case I am going to create a new blend space. So let's go to boss fight, right click, animation, go to legacy, blend space 1D, so it will only be in one direction. Let's select our golem skeleton, and let's name this something as is the boss fight blend space. Let's go and just drag in the horizontal axis to be named speed, and then the maximum speed will be 350 as we have it on our character movement component, if you remember. Now let's get the idle and put it all to the left, and get the walk and put it all to the right. So then I can just save. And then if I hold control and move my cursor over the timeline and the speed increases, we will smoothly transition from idle to walking, which is pretty cool. So then here I can get my boss fight blend space plugin here. Now we need the speed, right? If I change this to 350, we will be walking. But if I set 0, back to 0. But we need to update this in real time. So let's right click, create a variable called speed. And on the band graph, we will get the pawn owner in the update and get the velocity. Now, to get it as a float, we can simply just do a vector length, and that's how we can get it as a float. So then we can set the speed to basically the, guess what, this variable, and that's it. So now if I go and press play, we can see that it's walking, and if it were to go and stay still because it's patrolling, right, you can see it's patrolling. Stay still, we have the walking animation, and he'll go. Now he's walking a bit too fast, so let me go quickly to the demo animation, right, which is walk, and let me get the rate scale to be like 0.5, and it will be like way slower, and it looks like cooler, you know. There we go, that's cooler. Cool. And then also in the boss, I'm gonna drop the mesh to be even like less taller, because he's like too tall. Well, maybe for the meshes in the world I'm seeing, we need to, yeah, like this height is a bit better. Good. And now, yeah, we go and impact the player, and we'll kill it, or I can kill it first. Haha. Oh, it killed me. Also, yeah, so he continues to basically go and attack whenever he's dead. So to manage this, let's go to the boss, do an isDead variable. All right, and we're gonna go into the attack and just add an AND state over here. So if we are not attacking and we are not dead, let's set this to a bool, sorry, so we true or false, right? And it's not boolean, so it is not true. We will go and attack. And let me go in health, and when we die, well, when the AI dies, set the health to be true, right? It's dead, and that's it. So now basically when we kill it, it will not continue to attack, which is cool. So that's it, guys. If you found this tutorial helpful, I would really appreciate it. You could like the video and subscribe to my channel. Remember to have full access to the private files through Patreon or YouTube members, so link in the description. Join my Discord server, follow me on my socials, and now, yes, with all that said, bye bye.